Are you done snorting the booger?
Yes. That's
Okay.
good.
All right. That's good, though. I have something for a cold open.
There you go.
All right.
All right. Breathe in, breathe out. Calm blue ocean.
On Blue Ocean. And push.
Where were you about 30 hours ago with Paula?
Welcome to the Crew Roundtable Podcast, featuring Big V, Marko, Gino, and JR, with your host, the champ who runs the camp, Sal Champ. Visit us at crewroundtable.com.
Welcome, everybody, to the Crew Roundtable Podcast. I'm your host, Sal Champ, and with me today is, what are we? 3/5?
We're the skeleton crew, apparently.
The skeleton crew. We are 3/5 of the crew here tonight. Shout out to Gino and Mark, wherever you are.
Gino's out selling his body for college tuition.
Yeah,
I believe the Red Army came from Mark finally.
probably.
Yeah, I think he got drafted.
Probably. They answered all his letters and they decided just to pick him up. So before,
He anti-defected.
Yeah. So before we begin, I just want to remind everyone that you are listening to the Crew Roundtable. You can catch us on the Twitter at Crew Roundtable. Don't forget to go visit our Facebook page, Crew Roundtable Podcast. Is that what we
No,
search
it's
under?
just facebook.com/Crew Roundtable.
Beautiful. Great. So give us some likes.
But most important, rate and review us on iTunes.
I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting there. This guy's stepping on my toes.
And just in
Sorry,
case you
very
remember
late.
any of this, just Google Crew Roundtable.
Exactly.
Stuff will pop up.
So if you do Google, you should visit our website, crewroundtable.com, where you can catch all our episodes. And not only Crew Roundtable episodes, but you can catch other high-quality shows that are brought to you by the Crew Roundtable Network, such as JR Talks to People.
Yep, my new interview show.
Yeah, exactly. And if you go there now, you'll find an episode because we're going to be posting this right away.
Yeah.
So episode 1.
I interview Mike Bryant of Kraken Not Stirred.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he is currently putting out a Kickstarter to promote, to manufacture a green vinyl album of his latest work.
Right. And hopefully I will get hopefully you're going to listen and that Kickstarter is still up there. So now the pressure's on me. And also there's Hot Takes
With Gino.
with Gino, another high quality. He's got like 7 episodes up there now.
Yes.
So you can catch that show. So one feed, 3 shows. You can't beat that deal. Okay, so you can search us on iTunes and Google Play Store, and we're other places where you can find your podcasts.
And yeah, YouTube. We are on YouTube.
Thank you.
You can listen to us. You can listen to the video on YouTube.
That's right.
Also,
With that-
on behalf of Marco and myself, don't expect absolutely nothing because we're just too lazy.
And 25 points for Big V opening up the Sapporo.
Jesus.
Oh my God. This guy just foamed all over the table.
It was a good beer.
I once dreamed of standing at the foot of a lake of beer.
Yeah.
But not like this. Never like this.
Well, at the show break, I'll get you some napkins so you can wipe yourself down.
Thank you, sir.
Unbelievable. Okay, so let's get on with the program here. So in this episode of the Crew Roundtable, we're going to be talking about cashless society. So we are moving forward to paying everything off by plastic. They've taken the penny away and they're rounding up and rounding down when we pay with cash. But it doesn't. It seems that everyone is just paying with their cards, and not much cash in the pocket. So
Well, you have to also include the innovation of tap. That has just made it so much easier.
That's the godsend. That's a godsend.
Like it was okay with inputting your PIN, but that just took time and it was an annoyance and you had to wait.
true.
Now you go to Tim Hortons, you tap, you're done.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's even quicker than actually finding the change to give the money to them to pay for it if you had physical cash.
But in the U.S., there's still swipe and sign. They're still using the magnetic stripe. 2 years,
sorry, what was this?
2 years ago, we did a 2.5 week road trip in the U.S. Everyone was either paying cash or you're swiping and signing. They don't have
sign.
Signing
Okay.
your name. It was still the magnetic swipe. You
Wow.
did
No
not.
chip?
No chip. No pins.
Sweet.
They didn't give a fuck. I can't remember. I think it was the credit card companies finally pushed them. What they wound up doing is they changed the rules. So basically, if you were a user who did not have a PIN, I think if you had an old card, it was the one thing. But if you had a card that had a chip, and you opted to use the swipe card, then if your credit card information got stolen, you were on the hook for it. Mm-hmm. And then conversely, if you had a chip card, but the vendor didn't support the chip and was still on swipe machines, they were on the hook for fraud. So it was the push forward that the credit card companies did, because credit card fraud is still gigantic in the States.
Right.
And you could tell when it was phasing out in Canada too, because everything. I remember one of my credit cards. I had to swipe on one of the terminals. I think it was a gas station or something. And a couple of weeks later, fraudulent transaction specifically in BC, because they were still not using the chip and pin. And even the guy on the phone was like, let me guess, this is in Vancouver. Yeah, how'd you know? I was like, they're all there. But I think now that's the thing of the past.
So fraud aside, do you think we should still be carrying cash?
Well, it isn't whether we should be carrying cash or not. It's whether the vendors or the businesses, what their practice is. Before the show, I was talking with Bernard, and I said, well, you know what? There's a lot of large companies out there that they go via plastic or non-physical transactions, simply from one account to the other. However, there's so many industries where there's so many small and middlemen or small and middle-sized individuals, vendors, or companies that are out there, and they simply, like, say, construction. On practically almost every level in construction, whether it's the small guy who's only employing himself in his company, to like 5 or 6 employees, to a large company like Green Park that is putting up subdivisions. Cash runs wild in that industry, simply because of trying to avoid the tax man at every level, whether it's the small guy coming to do your new deck in your backyard, and you paying him cash to make it cheaper, or Green Park paying their extra or their
Laborers or
but they have like their go-to laborers in case they're in a bind or they're falling behind on projects or whatever. These are the extra guys they call in, and those guys, it's totally cash. Because they're either running late in costs or starting to overrun, or they have it. We remember when we had the labor shortage in the industry, that was totally all cash. Okay, because it's just, we need this done. I don't have enough guys. I'm calling you in. Here's this. Go get it done. Okay, and I think it's also primarily our taxing system. Okay. We are one of the countries in the world where we are heavily taxed on a multitude of levels, on a multitude of things. And straight out, a lot of these industries, if they can get cash, that's beautiful, because then, a little bit of fudging here, a little bit of fudging there. A job actually supposedly costs less than it actually costed, and they ended up giving far less taxes than they would have if there was a paper trail. Straight up.
I don't know. I wouldn't trust a contractor with cash. If
That's-
you know what they say. You shake hands with a contractor, count your fingers.
Oh yeah. I mean, the guy could be here one day and then he's gone the next.
They've actually. I don't know if the government's being self-serving or if they're actually trying to be protectivism, but you hear everywhere. Don't trust contractors that ask for cash up front because there's no proof.
Well, no,
there is no proof.
there's
At least the small ones.
But there's a lot of
Especially
contractors.
the small ones.
Yeah.
There's a lot of contractors that would just say, "This is deposit. The rest is done when the job is done." And that's traditional.
Yeah, but sometimes half the pot. Half the pot is great if they don't do any work. Then they disappear and you never find them.
True.
You're right. Some of them don't. If they can take you for half the job,
Well, that's
and
just
not even
it.
do anything,
Deposits should normally only be like 10 or 20%. If some guy's coming up to you asking for 50%, then you're like, no way. That's common sense.
yeah, you still risk. Whenever you deal with cash with contractors, it's a risk. You're gambling.
Even if a guy gives you a paper contract, there's still risk that guy might go out of business, and then you're still screwed.
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
So it's just common sense with regards to when you're paying cash and there's technically no paper trail, right? It's just buyer beware and use common sense. But this is what I'm trying to say. It's like, because our country, the way we are here and the level in which we're taxed, a lot of us are still having to pay cash just because it's the better way to go in certain circumstances.
But in general society, very few of our transactions are off the books, regardless of the method you use.
Yeah.
I don't use cash simply because things have gotten so expensive that you end up just burning through it all the time.
Yeah.
I myself, I'm not going to walk around with $1,000 in cash on me.
No.
Or
Same. Yeah.
You used to carry I think it was you used to carry $300 in the back pocket and then $500 in the front. If you were to get mugged, you would just say, "Oh, here's my $3."
It was in a briefcase chained to my arm with a handcuff to my arm. Come on, get it straight.
I thought it was in a chastity underwear that you had on.
Oh my god, dude!
But no, I agree.
It was a boondoggle. It was a misdirect.
But I agree with Bernard. I carry practically no cash.
Well,
that's
my next question.
I have like 3 cards.
How much cash is in your pockets right now?
I keep $200 to $300 on me at all times.
Very good.
Once upon a time, it was definitely a rule that cash facilitated spontaneity. Just it was fast. You got to get on a cab.
Yeah.
Here's your fare. I gotta go. Stuff's happening. But with tapping, it's a little different.
Tapping is a godsend, literally.
Tapping is different. It's still capped to a certain degree depending on what the store will tolerate.
It's $100, I know, for MasterCard.
It varies on the store. The store sets the cutoff. The store picks whatever tap they want.
Okay.
Nowadays, which spawned this topic, the recent announcement that at the beginning of the month that Android Pay has now come to Canada.
Oh, okay.
And yes. It works really good. I've got it on my phone. I do not have data, and I was a little concerned that it wasn't going to work. What I discovered is it works similar to Apple Pay, except it's slightly different. The way both phones work is that you register an account, you put your credit card on there, but the phone doesn't directly pass that credit card number on. What it does is you have what's known as tokens, which are randomly a fixed set of randomly generated quote unquote fake credit card numbers that belong to Apple or Google, and then when the charge goes back, it charges back to Apple, or Google, and then puts it onto your credit card. The difference between the two systems is the iPhone has a chip that will generate the tokens on the machine. So if you don't connect to the internet for 3 months, you can keep purchasing. Whereas if on Android, if you don't have a data, you've only got a fixed number on the phone. And when you burn through those, you have to connect to the internet, and it will replenish the tokens. Or if you're always connected, then you don't have anything to worry about. And so this was really cool. So I've tested it. Now, in both cases, I believe the phone has to be unlocked. The screen has to be on and unlocked for the transactions to take place. I believe with Android Pay, certain I think under $20 purchases can be done with the screen on. But people can't just walk up to you and like tap your pocket and suddenly charge you $30 because the screen has to be on. And in most cases, and if I could turn off that unlocked version altogether and just have it always have to be unlocked, the locked charging, I would like to disable that, but I don't know if I can.
Oh, okay.
Because I'd rather have to unlock my phone and tap it each time, and it's tapped. Like you tap it on the thing and it does the pay. Now, whether that's limited by the same cutoffs that regular tapping is, I'm not sure.
I would imagine.
Imagine it is. I think
just
you're
for
right.
Fraudulent. So to decrease fraudulent transactions.
So if you're buying like $200 or $300 worth of groceries, which is pretty typical depending on the size of your family, then you have to use the PIN. So
yeah.
I've been using it. I think it's great. It's a good next level.
You'll still have cash on you.
Always keep cash on you. Never leave home without cash. You're asking for trouble.
Oh yeah.
You never know what might happen.
Now,
well, personally,
like
I carry 3 different cards. I carry a MasterCard, I carry a Visa, and I carry my bank.
Yeah.
My debit card. And it's literally, primarily, I would have to say 98% of the time, I just use my PC MasterCard.
Oh, I agree with you totally.
Just tap.
I want to back up a second. Go back to you never know what might happen. What might happen?
I don't know. Sometimes you might
have a power outage for 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. There might be a power outage, and
Yeah.
sometimes the machines are down because their network is down, and they can't. If you need to make a quick purchase or whatever, it's a
you
hot
could be
day.
in line for groceries, and the debit machines are down.
Well, that happened.
And it's
that
happened.
happened at
I've
the
had-
store last month.
I was in Marchbrook Warehouse about 4 or 5 years ago, and they were actually doing the impressions.
Oh yes,
Because their system was down, so they were doing the billing by hand, and they pulled out the old carbon copy machine.
Wow.
Chunk, chunk, chunk.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. They still had those machines, but I guess that was 6 years ago, so maybe it was. But
no, I think if we should be keeping cash on us, then they should be keeping those chunk machines under the thing, just in case.
Oh, and another thing. And apparently, TD Bank just recently dropped the fees for Interac email transfers.
Oh yeah, I did that.
I
once.
can wire.
Actually, I've done that at least almost 20 times now.
As of the 12th.
I wouldn't be surprised simply because of a lot of the online banking institutions like PC, Canadian Tire, ICIC, well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tangerine, whatever. Because that's basically their thing. It's just everything is online, and if they have not been charging for email or e-transactions for the longest time, right? So I wouldn't be. I'm not surprised that probably some of the large banks will now start following suit with regards to that, because to be honest, I don't even know why a lot of people still go with what is it now? The 7 large banks in Canada, whatever the number is now, for the day-to-day checking savings account, where their fees are always being charged. It's I understand maybe for mortgages or loans and stuff like that, right? Physical person, a lot easier to ask questions and so forth. But the other stuff like that, like I just mentioned, I'm surprised that these banks still get anybody coming in opening these such accounts.
Yeah, I think it's because, to be fair, Tangerine really dragged their feet on it. When they were ING Direct,
Yes.
they really pushed them strictly as a savings company. They didn't have a card. You didn't use Interact. You actually needed another account to get your money. If you needed to access some cash, you needed to transfer it over to a regular brick and mortar, and it took 2 or 3 days. So it kind of forced you into having two banks. I mean, I call it a polybankerous.
Exactly.
PC did it right though. They hooked up with CIBC to
CIBC
run
does the banking,
their infrastructure for them, and it was just ever since I went with them. Beautiful.
But I think the reason Tangerine is caught up now is because Scotia owns them now. Scotiabank owns them.
It's the same now.
So now it's the same. They still offer higher interest last time I checked than any of the savings accounts anywhere else. They're still about a quarter to 0.5% higher. So I still have both accounts.
Yeah, when ING was ING, they did have cards. But
they worked at 5 machines.
There's no exactly.
Yeah, I remember that.
There's one machine downtown, 3 machines in Mississauga, and 1 machine like in Markham or something like that. It was like ridiculous. Like
they were really designed. They weren't designed to be an everyday bank.
No,
they were their whole tagline once upon a time was "Save your money."
Save your money.
And it was basically you leave it in there,
high interest.
Yeah. Don't worry. We were your responsibility bank, and your regular bank is your everyday need money now bank.
Yeah.
And it worked well for me all the time.
So coming off this tangent,
I was just gonna say that.
Can we actually ever at a point where we can become a cashless society?
Okay.
No, I'm going to disagree with that only because on the vendor side, it costs them money to use all this electronic plastic. To use plastic, Visa charges the money.
MasterCard charges less.
charges them less.
But still charges them.
I think that's one of the reasons our public transit system, TTC, was resistant to taking credit cards for the longest times. They didn't, given the number of transactions they do, the fees were going to be ridiculous. I'm not quite sure what changed the decision, but I know that was one of the reasons.
They did have plastic transaction for Metro passes or rolls of tokens being sold.
Yes, that was the original.
Because simply the amount of money that was involved in the transaction. It was worth their while.
Because it's not a percentage, I don't think. It's a cost per transaction. So you're right.
It's both.
It's both.
It all depends on the contract that the vendor has with Visa or MasterCard.
Okay,
it could be one or the other. If you know your company is going to have a large number of transactions, then it's actually, from what I know, it's a percentage and a very low percentage of what the for every charge. If you know you're going to have very few transactions, then they'll charge you per transaction.
Okay.
A fixed rate.
Okay, that's interesting.
Or it might be vice versa.
I'm not sure, right?
It's one or the other. One or the other.
So I know Interac is feeless because a lot of small businesses only support Interac. And I've been reading places where if you just support small business, you should use your Interac card more. I try to reserve it just for those because, like with every bank, there's a limit on how many transactions you're allowed.
Yeah.
So I try not to use the debit card that much anymore. I got burned on that once.
Again, back to why everybody for checking and savings accounts still go to these 6 or 7 large banks and not with the other ones where banking is free. That's why I can't.
Yeah. So, I don't think it's ever going to be completely cashless, just because cash is still faster.
Well, right.
Or more beneficial.
It is more beneficial. You're right.
So when I heard this topic, now it's going to be extreme. What I'm about to say is what happened in Cyprus, where the banks declared a holiday. So the folks had no access to their money. There were lineups at the bank machines. Banks were closed. Bank machines were only giving out few dollars from people's accounts. They were locked out of their money.
For how long?
In Cyprus.
One day?
No, it wasn't a day.
You said it was a holiday.
And no, the bank calls it a bank holiday. It wasn't like a holiday like
So how can
Canada
it be more than one day?
It was. It had to do with the banks, and I don't know if they ran out of money.
Okay.
Okay, well, it's not a holiday.
It was an air quotes holiday.
It was a financial disaster, not a holiday.
But the word for it is a bank holiday where they've closed their branches. We don't have the money we don't have the money in our banks to fulfill your your withdrawals. So the people were stuck. Lineups trying to get money out so they can go to the store and go shopping.
Didn't it happen in Greece once too?
Cyprus for
I remember
sure.
that. Yeah, I remember that.
Was it Greece?
That was when everything went to craps.
Yeah, it was just before. I think it was before the euro, and I think it might have been
really?
around the time when the drachma had like taken a big shit kicking.
Wow. Okay.
So they were trying to get as much money out of the bank before.
But I think it even
devalued
happened
more.
when the U.S. When everything went to crap in 2009 with the U.S. A lot of the European countries, Greece and Portugal, I think they also had issues with the banks. With regards
Well, those guys
to,
are just in debt, and they're always getting bailed out by Germany. Yeah.
No, I'm laughing because it's true.
Oh, right.
I'm not laughing because it was funny. I'm laughing because it was true.
Well, you know what? Wonderful discussion. I think it's time to close it off. So let's get some final thoughts. Big V, final thoughts on cashless.
Go with Bernard because I'm eating a chip right now.
Okay.
JR. It's JR by the way.
I've always been one to not put my eggs in all in one basket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Electronic is still. It's still convenient. It's definitely the majority of my purchases. I'm not
Yes.
going to lie about that. But always keep some cash on you. You don't have to spend it, but it's on
never
you,
know.
whatever the case may be. I mean, I can't come up with an emergency because then it wouldn't be an emergency. I can't give you a good scenario.
Yeah.
But you never know when you might need to just pay something quickly or fast. And it is still anonymous. So
Yeah.
if you don't want anyone finding out that you bought that Playboy, then pay for it in cash, people. Pay for it in cash.
Big V, final thought.
I'm gonna have to go with this with JR. Just personally, I have some cash at home, not a lot, because primarily, like I said, I use 2 credit cards. I use a PC Mastercard and I use a Canadian Tire card for gas. And then I have my debit card that I use like literally 2% of the time, if that. So same thing. Cashless society, not anytime soon. Especially, I'm gonna have you just even with the lower class. They're primarily if you look statistically, they always use cash because it's what they have. They either don't want to get a credit card because they don't want to take the chance of being in debt, or banks won't give them a credit card because of their financial status. So they're literally stuck with using physical cash or a debit card at the most. So no time soon. I don't even think in the next 50 years. I don't even think
It'll be a long time. All those save our account. If all those personal finance shows where 2 idiots are drowning in debt because they know what the fuck they're doing, and this British woman comes over and saves them and puts them on a plan.
Oh, that
Right?
that woman there.
What's it? I can't remember what it's called.
Money.
I know what you mean.
I know
who you're talking
the
about.
first tactic always is get rid of the credit cards. Everything's in cash. Because it's really easy to lose track and overspend when you don't actually see the money
physically what you have or you don't
leaving
have.
your hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a good way to control your spending, right? Get out of the.
How about you, champ? What's your?
You know what?
opinion?
Always have that cash close by because again, the net. We depend everything on this network where transactions flow through. And what if it goes down for 3 days? You got to go to a store and you got to get groceries for the week. You're gonna have $400 close by, safe, so you can go and pay for cash.
You also got to realize though, debit and the credit card companies are on a different network.
But it still goes through the internet.
Yeah,
If
the distractions.
the store's internet is down, they all don't work.
Or depending, guys are still using that phone line.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Sometimes.
I still see it. I still see some small business or whatever. They got the phone line.
Sorry,
Because
1
obviously
second. I've got a call coming through.
No, it's a designated phone line just for that. But it's like, but for them it's probably fun because they don't have a lineup going out the door, right? They probably make a transaction like once an hour.
Anyways, let's close it off here. By the way, that woman you're talking about, she was on breakfast television, and she was saying that if she doesn't have a date, she rubs one out. And she held up 2 fingers.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not lying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's very outspoken, that one. She
you
doesn't
got-
have
you
a
got-
problem saying her
TV.
Well,
mind.
as long as it's talking her mind about herself, that's fine.
Yeah, she was. So, thanks for joining us, everyone. I want to thank my 2 guests, Big V, JR. Thanks for being here and making up for the crew.
It's the skeleton.
The skeleton
round
crew.
table.
Don't forget, folks, you can download our podcast from iTunes, from Google Play Store, from Stitcher Radio, and also crewroundtable.com. And don't forget to catch us on Twitter. You can tweet us at Crew Roundtable, #AskTheCrew if you have any topics or show suggestions. Like our Facebook page. Listen to us on YouTube as well. I'm Sal, your host. Thanks for stopping by.
Giggity.